R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman for a generation. Hey everyone, welcome to Salty Saturdays. I am your host, Salty Saturday Matt Kadish. No longer special because everyone has a blue check mark now, but that's okay. We're going to get right to it with our expert panel of nerds today. We got a lot to cover. Matt Vader 74, newly fomented blue check mark on Twitter.
Yes,
how you doing,
bow
buddy?
before me. Plebes, you must all acknowledge my greatness that I have a bought and paid for check mark. It's amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Right. Someone who hasn't quite gotten the blue check mark yet. Brian from the Popcast. He's here. He's queer. He's our representation on the panel. How you doing, buddy?
You keep saying that people are going to start believing that.
Hey, listen, it's it's bull crap that us Android plebs can't get a blue check mark.
I know, right?
The new status symbol is having an iPhone, apparently.
I know. Apple people always get the priority. It's crazy. And joining us again is Culture Casino. How you doing? Thank you for being here. You are also a blue check mark, I believe.
I am a salty nerd check mark. I am a blue check mark now. All I have to say to the world is $8. That's all I have to say.
$8.
Glad to be here.
And joining us again from his space lair is Matt from Foul Ball Productions. Good to have you back. Haven't seen you since the Nerdrotic meetup here in Vegas, but it's good to have you on the show.
It's good to be back, man. Thank you for the invitation. I do want to take a little umbrage with Culture Casino for ripping off my space gimmick. What the hell, dude?
What now?
You got space behind you. That's my thing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, we cleared that.
You're both pulling a Nick Fury, so you're both at fault. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone in the chat. Anthony Mark, he's always the first and most ready to go in our chat. Good to see you, Anthony. Eddie Coulter is here. Gavin Blackburn, Thundercats, ho! Sean Collette's here. Full Metal Smile, Orwell's son, and Mr. Farnsworth, and of course, Fluffy Panda is here. Thank you for being here, Fluffy. In fact, it's good that you're here because I got a little something special just for you that I'm going to pop up right now. We have a new kind of like overlay here. So I wanted to shout out our best donors and patrons. Astro Nerd Boy for top super chat. Last week, he dropped us $100. It was awesome. It was amazing. So shout out to him. Fluffy Panda is our highest donator stream to stream. They're always dropping us super chats, and we really appreciate that. And of course, Backyard Tardis is our top patron. He's been with us since the beginning. He's always in our highest tier. He's always engaging with us and leaving messages and all that good stuff. And just to let you guys know, if you want to drop us some super chats, not only does it go towards supporting the show, we will literally stop what we're doing and address it.
Literally.
We also got Rogue Attraction in the chat, 52 movies a year, Tim's Talk. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. So we got a lot to talk about today. And let's just, since we started the show with it real quick, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. Tragically, he passed away at the age of 66 after a battle with cancer about 2 days ago. It's very sad. People grew up basically believing this guy was Batman because his voice is so iconic. And we just wanted to, like he was a friend of the podcast. He gave us that great little intro. And I'm going to play it one more time because it's so cool. And then I just want to go around the panel and see what you have to say about Batman, the animated series, and Kevin Conroy's career in particular.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. I am salty. I am a nerd. I am a salty nerd. And you're listening to the Salty Nerd Podcast. Stay salty, my friends.
Vader, I remember when I showed you guys that video message that he made for us, Alex almost cried because he was like such a huge fan of Kevin Conroy's.
Well, when you got that for us, we had just started doing the show. We had about probably 250 subs, and that just made us feel really special. I was like, holy crap, that is really neat, and it was cool. And knowing now what he was going through at the time that he filmed that, you can kind of tell he was super thin even 2 years ago, back then. So it sucks. 66 is way too young to have to go to, especially to such a shitty thing like cancer. cancer sucks, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
that thing needs to
does.
go
And
away.
everyone who worked with him just had nothing but praise for the guy.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. Brian, do you have anything to say about Kevin Conroy's passing?
I didn't know the guy, but I did like his work. Big fan of all the animated series and all that, and I remember and it sucks they passed away. It seems like all the good people, all the best people of Hollywood, just like they go way too early, and all the worst people are just still hanging out. But yeah, it sucks, and hopefully his family is doing okay.
And Brian, you do a DC oriented channel, so you should definitely mention that in the video or something coming up. Culture. I know that you probably didn't have like a lot of exposure outside of Batman the Animated Series, but do you have anything to say about this passing?
No, it is a real bummer, and he was definitely a voice for a generation. Indeed, maybe a generation and a half, possibly, for Batman specifically. And a lot of people have commented on his passing, and I think you guys are right. I think we're losing way too many of the good people way too early, and all the cruddy people are still around. But that's just my thoughts. Yeah,
James Mangold's still around. We'll get to him in a second. Matt, what do you have to say about the passing of Kevin Conroy?
It's an interesting one because I grew up watching the Batman the Animated Series, and I loved it. I didn't really carry it with me throughout my life, but a lot of my friends did. Like, for instance, last night we were talking about it. Vigilante Williamson said it's like probably his favorite performer ever. And it was like, it really hit him hard. And we watched this great video that's just like 4 minutes long on great big story. It's called Meet the Voice of Batman. And it's just a 4-minute little video about his origin and how he got that role. And it was like really a great little video. And then it was just so touching to see how much, this voice actor really impacted people's lives and how much they were really affected by him. And I thought it was, it was kind of sweet. It was a sweet send off to the guy that there were this many people that were mourning him. So I like personally, it's not like my necessarily what I am super connected to, but seeing everyone's like love and just like admiration of the guy at his passing, I thought was it was really sweet, even though it's obviously super unfortunate.
All right, before we get into our topics for today, we got some super stickers. Mexican Iron Man for $10, $9.99. Thank you, sir. You are our favorite Mexican superhero, as always.
Just real quick, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go find the Midnight's Edge or the Latino slant edit cut out of Mexican Iron Man going off on the Wakanda Forever movie. It is the most epic rant I have heard on YouTube or any social media in maybe ever. It was a thing of beauty. It's completely convinced me not to waste my $40.
Isn't it like
going to see this movie? It's an amazing. It'll set you straight. It's real. It is from here. You can hear the anger in Mike's voice when he does this. And I'm sure most people have heard this thing already, but go watch it. Go watch it.
Isn't Wakanda Forever isn't Wakanda Forever a thinly veiled blacks versus Mexicans type thing?
He gets into that.
Thinly veiled?
Yeah, it's not thin. If you
they are blue.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
Bluxicans.
check that out. Go and Mike, it was epic, man. Really loved it. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then he turned around. And did it live on the Midnight's Edge live stream the next day. It was bonkers. I'm like, holy cow.
And Gavin Blackburn for 99.99 pounds. I never know how to shillings. I don't know what they use for cents out there.
Pence.
But, thank you, Gavin Blackburn, for that super sticker.
Little smiley face with hearts in the eye.
Fluffy Panda for $10. This is for Kevin. He was my Batman. I didn't expect it to hit me as hard as it did. As had a heartfelt video made me cry, and every tweet about him made me choke up. He was well loved. He was, by all accounts, he was a great guy. We all were big fans of him on the podcast, and we're all very sad when we saw him pass. We had a big chat about it in our Discord server when the rumors first started flying. We were like, hey, is this true? What's going on here? And I know Alex in particular was very saddened by that. But let's talk about more fun stuff, such as Blue Checkmark Chaos. So we had an issue over the weekend where basically Elon Musk rolled out his $8 Twitter Blue subscription that included blue check verification. Instantly, scammers and impersonators basically used fake credit cards with chargebacks on it to get these blue check marks and pretend to be official accounts. And some of them actually caused like billions of dollars in damage. And so like they had to suspend the Twitter Blue subscription rollout immediately. But some of you guys on the panel actually got in there before they shut it down, got your blue check mark. But another factor is that you can't change your name as soon as you get verified. So you're stuck with whatever name you had when you got the verification. And in fact, there was a funny exchange between Doja Cat, the singer, and Elon Musk, where she had changed her name to Christmas. And she was like, hey, Elon, I got verified. Can I change my name? And Elon's like, yeah, sure, working on it. And he's like, okay, fixed. And then she changed her name to Elon Musk and changed her picture to a picture of him. So like she was basically impersonating his account and said, thank you. And everyone applauded her own of Elon Musk for helping her become
Did she get
a
banned?
parody account. I don't think so, because I think she put parody in her profile or something like that. But basically this rollout of the Twitter Blue verification, first of all, you had all the legacy check marks freaking out, having a meltdown about it.
Yeah.
And then you had all the people who paid for it having meltdowns about it, because if you're on Android, you couldn't get it. If you're on Apple, you're stuck with like the name that you got. And it's just been a mess. And so right now they've rolled back Twitter Blue to try to figure out what to do next. But I wanted to get the panelists' thoughts on this. Matt from Foul Ball, let me start with you. Did you get verified on Twitter?
No, I'm not going to. It's not that I am against the system or anything. I just don't personally see any value in it. It's just not for me. Like, it's cool and whatever, and by all means, everyone should partake in it. I just love, though, like their elite status just being snatched out from under them, and they're all like, no, but that's what made me special. And it's like, not anymore, man. And
Look at me.
yeah, I get a big kick out of that. I thought that was pretty funny.
I know. I feel a whole lot less special now. That Matt Vader has a blue check along with me. Yeah.
I loved it, and it was really insightful to see like AOC, like her little tantrum about how she now I've got to see all these random people in my verified @ mentions. What is this, Elon?
No.
Just a little insight into their life, and I think if they're in
Actually
pain,
forgot
that's
she was a
good thing.
politician, bro, not a celebrity.
Well,
She's
they're
not
kind
even
of
much
trying
a
to blur
celebrity.
that line.
Yeah. Well, she's always, she was the social media candidate, right? That's what really swept her into winning. Is that
Squad.
is the fact that she had like millions of social media followers. She was very savvy on that. Matt Bader 74.
Yes, sir.
You're in a newly minted blue check.
Uh-huh.
How are you liking it?
To be honest with you, I have not had a lot of time to dive into the new blue features and stuff. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I only got it I got it for two reasons. I got it, one, to troll you. I mean, literally, I got it to troll you because you have been so, look at me, I am a blue check mark for the last year of my life. And, I know you do it in fun, and it's fun to just kind of like poke you a little bit because you're my buddy. But also, I really wanted that edit feature. I mean,
Yes.
I am the guy that writes a tweet, and for some reason my brain fires off, and I'll forget to like write entire words or phrases, and I think I type them into these tweets. And at least 2 or 3 times a week, I end up writing a tweet and having to delete it and start over.
Mhm.
So I just really, the $8 a month or whatever is well worth that for me to be able to go in and fix my tweets after I do them. So that alone is fine. I was probably going to do the blue thing anyway. And it's just a good way. I use Twitter a lot. I'm on it every day on several accounts. So to have that feature is important to me. And the blue checkmark thing, whatever. It's kind of fun. I mean, I kind of wish I was important enough to be able to like have a legitimate blue checkmark, but I'm not. So I'll pay for it. Whatever. It's cool.
I had a blue check before it was cool.
Yeah.
So real quick, we have a super chat from JT for Vader's second month of elite status. Here's $8.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you for that, JT.
We will be getting the Salty Nerd podcast account check mark here as soon as we can. We actually can't buy it right now for it. So
and I kind of want to wait until everything's kind of sorted out before we start dropping that money. Culture Casino, $8.
That's right. $8 Culture Casino right here.
Yeah.
Look, it's awesome. I got it not just for the edit button, which I have used multiple times already, but I also got it for the ability to actually monetize on Twitter. I think that's an exciting thing, and being able to actually drop some of my videos content there in a way that's not contained within some kind of tic-tac YouTube short bologna sausage, right? So it's kind of a win-win for me, not to mention the fact that it makes me as cool as Matt Kadish. So yay me.
Not everyone is as cool as me. This is true.
That's true.
So Brian, are you going to get verified once you
can? And then I'm going to change my default picture and my profile to look like Matt Kadish, and I'm going to start messaging people.
I'm the new Elon Musk. Yeah. That's right.
No, you know what? Quit stroking his ego. It's ridiculous.
I don't know if I'm gonna get verified or not. I don't really care. I did get the Twitter Blue because I do want the edit feature, and I want the longer video, like Culture Casino said. Like that is actually great because I do these weekly previews for my live show, me and Shane's live show, and it's weird. I have to like fit them inside the Twitter the rules, like the length of it. So if I pay $4 a month, or I guess $8 now, I can just completely bypass that and just do it however long I want, which is gonna be nice.
Well, I think it's interesting because Elon's whole push towards this subscription model, basically it frees them from being advertiser dependent, which basically means that Twitter doesn't need to rely on stuff like Google does, where it's like if the advertisers are upset, their entire revenue stream is threatened. So going towards a subscription model actually makes it a lot safer and a lot freer in order to like have Twitter basically go off and do its own thing. He's been laying off tens of thousands of employees. Like the bloat at that company was apparently like ridiculous. So he's trimming the fat and he's trying new things. He's come under a lot of criticism for his kind of like shotgun approach. At SpaceX, he was like, let's just keep firing rockets. I don't care how much it costs. Let's fire the rockets, find out what goes wrong, and then use that data to keep doing it until it stops going wrong. And he's kind of taking the same approach here. He's like, wow, Twitter has all these features in the works. Let's roll them out, see what works and what doesn't, and then fix it and see what people respond to. But he's been taking a lot of criticism about this stuff from users who basically are convinced that he's going to bankrupt the company. We've seen a lot of the celebrity class on Twitter move over to Mastodon, which is the kind of liberal version of Truth Social.
Oh, is that where they're going?
Dude, I checked it out. That app is weird, bro. It's so bad.
Yeah, that and Tribal. They're also headed for Tribal, which is uber lefty.
Oh my God. The left have an app called Tribal?
Yes.
That's racist.
Fucking it's so brilliant. I love it so much.
But I just want to get your guys' quick thoughts about like this criticism that's being leveled on Elon. Do you think that it's legitimate criticism, or do you think that he's actually playing some 4D chess here? Matt from Foul Ball, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's already improved, and I'm not just saying that because it's like I'm believe in free speech. Like I was on Twitter last night, and I'm suddenly seeing all these comedians that I follow show up in my feed. And I was like, oh, rad. Paul Verzi, cool. Like I've never seen a single tweet from that guy. I've probably followed him for a year.
Right.
And I was like, this is great. Like it's actually what I want. And if you go to the trending topics now, it's not curated anymore. It's what's legitimately trending. And it's like, okay, like this thing's got some viability again. It's not just a propaganda machine. It's actually a viable insight into what people are talking about and allow you to connect with creators and just people in general that you're interested in. I was like, yeah, this is already significantly improved. I'm all about it. Any of the criticism I think is mostly coming from salty haters. Not to say there's anything wrong with being salty.
Culture, the coverage of the elections on Twitter were basically uncensored. You basically got to see everyone's conspiracy theories and calling out on the election day stuff. So what's your take on Elon's running of Twitter? Do you think the criticism he's getting is justified?
I think, well, justified according to whose standards. See, that's going to be the query there, because the people who feel like now it's a nice place to live, like Foulball Matt just was talking about, they're going to say, yeah, it was, he's doing a good job. It's unjustified. And the people that are now having to see regular people that have paid $8 in their menchies are, got their panties in a twist, like AOC. When it comes to the political coverage, I actually enjoyed being able to follow everything that was going on, including all the conflicts at polling places and stuff like that may have occurred. I don't know. I think it's a freer place to speak, and I've been enjoying it, and I like the fact that I'm seeing like actual trending topics and not the things that are, weighted, like Matt was talking about. There are a lot of things going on there. And I think you're right, Kadish, in the fact that he's just going to keep firing rockets until the thing works perfectly. And I think that's not a bad plan. It's worked for him every time he's done it. I mean, he did it with Tesla when he came in there, and he did it with SpaceX when he came in there, and it works for him. You know what I mean? It just does.
Well, Brian, advertisers have been boycotting Twitter. Elon came out and said that they were losing about $4 million a day when he took over, and so like he's kind of like, I think, desperate to try to get Twitter at least at a break-even point, so they're not hemorrhaging money. And part of that, this $8 plan rollout, because originally the rumor was it was going to be $20, and everyone was like, "No, I'm not paying $20 a month for Twitter." But he kind of settled on $8. I think that was just a number he pulled out of his ass. I don't think there was any like actual data behind that, right? Because Twitter Blue was like $5, So what do you think of this? And do you think there should be any actual identity verification in order to get the blue check?
Yeah, so I do believe that there should be an actual verification. I like the idea of being able to be, $8, you get your blue and you get your verification plus these other features. It's fantastic. If the verification is you actually sending in documents to make sure you're an actual person, not a bot. I don't see the point in verification that is just you pay $8 and you get a blue check. That's a very cosmetic thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Casino?
Oh no, I'm just going to add to what you're saying. You are verified. The minute you put your credit card in place, everybody knows everything about you already. Mm-hmm. So everything that's tied to that credit card ever authenticates you.
I guess you're right, but what is authenticating to the outside world that you are the person you're saying you are on Twitter?
You have a viable credit card.
Well, no, there are scammers who are basically doing credit card chargebacks under fake names and stuff like that. So that's not exactly.
So as the podcast, it wouldn't be my name, right? But I can still send in a screenshot or whatever of my back end and show who I am, because there is podcast guys out there who are trying to get people to buy stuff on Telegram or something. It drives me nuts. Wow. We're no one. I guess because we have 100K subscribers on one channel, it's enough for scammers to target us. So I was actually trying to get verified before all this mess, just because I'm so tired of the DMs of people being like, "Is this you?" Obviously not. You're DMing an account that's not the same account.
No, I agree with you, because you're not the only creator that runs into that problem. I mean, obviously, Nerdrotic and many others have had to go out there and say, we don't use Telegram. So these scams are not real.
My question is, who uses Telegram?
Well, see, one of the other reasons I like this credit card thing is because we can actually then see any of the verified accounts that are bots because somebody's paying that bill. And Elon can track that. So if there are governments that are actually being bad actors, they have to be verified somehow.
But a surefire way is because I know that when I tried to get verified on Truth Social, they required me to send in a copy of my valid state ID.
Yeah.
You have to put in like your social security number. You basically have to like provide documents that prove you are who you say you are. And I'm like, well, that should be a no-brainer, right? If you're going to get verified. Vader, what do you think of this? Do you think there should be any know your customer involved with actual verification?
I kind of like the whole idea of them verifying you through your credit card, but I get it. I think people that are verified should, and I don't know how to word this. I get what you're saying. Maybe we should have to use our real names or whatever, but who really needs to know our real names if you don't want to share it besides the people we're giving the money to?
Well, maybe not your
to,
real
to verify the payment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you shouldn't verify with documents. Maybe you verify with like, okay, so you're an actual like Matt Vader is a character, right? On Salty Nerd Podcast.
Yeah.
So, maybe you throw your other accounts at them and yeah.
I mean, they have my real information. I had to use my Apple. I used my Apple Pay to pay for this thing. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was a little weird when I signed up for Blue and it said pay for Apple with Apple Pay. And I went click. I double clicked the side of my phone and boom, I had a check mark. It was instant like that. Right. And I'm like, I was kind of half expecting to have to like take a picture of both sides of my driver's license like you do when you sign up for an online bank account or a cryptocurrency place,
Well, too.
But I was prepared to do that. So when I instantly got that check mark like that, I was a little like, that feels a little, like you said, cosmetic at the time, right? So I don't know, but I don't really understand that part of it. So anyway, go ahead, Culture.
No. It's just, I want to add to that because I did the same thing, right? I went ducked up and then I went, okay, now I understand why Elon wants to make this the X app because he also wants to operate it like a bank. Can you imagine immediately financially processing everything? That's what he wants to do. He wants to be able to pay creators directly. That's awesome too. And at the same time, Brian had a great idea. Do you know who uses Brian's idea when it comes to verification? Minds actually will let you verify yourself by highlighting one or two other places that you are. So when I got my Minds account, I was already on Odyssey and YouTube and everything else. So I'm just like round robining my verification because I exist in lots of places.
Also, anyone who downloads like a stock trading app, right? In order to use that, you have to go through KYC, know your customer, which is basically just verifying like who you are and stuff like that. And I think that like if Twitter went that route, it would eliminate the bot problem immediately with verified accounts because like, you can get fake credit cards. Like you can make up names and get like a credit card and then just not pay it or like do chargebacks or whatever. But you can't fake like identity, right? Like at least not as easy as you can with a credit card. And so and also like, I think if Elon wanted to, he could probably have like a $500 or even $1,000 verification fee for an official tag because they're doing that official thing now for brands and stuff. So like if you wanted to have your official account, you could pay like an added fee and actually go through like all the steps. Like, okay, here's my YouTube channel. Here are my other social media accounts. Here's like all the stuff that proves I'm the official person doing this stuff. I think people would pay that actually.
Yeah, I actually would, and again, it's because this is a business for me. I think it's, and Brian, I'm sure would, and it's that idea that I'm verified everywhere. And it's kind of like a built-in link tree that way too, because think about the fact that all that stuff is there. And that's kind of Elon's goal. So you know what else goes hand in hand in this is something you guys probably are already aware of is his idea of having his own phone, which is already well underway. You're going to be able to buy an Elon Pi phone, right?
Maybe.
I mean, I hope so.
Didn't work out too well for Bezos. So.
Real quick thing. I just want to add to that before we moved on. The verification system itself is actually really important for creators, not just because of people impersonating you and all that, but like that your idea there about the link tree thing. So many creators cannot figure out how to put all the information in one place. Some do it, but even then, you gotta you if you really find a new creator you like, you gotta like investigate to find out where their podcast is, where's their YouTube channel, where's everything. Oh wait, they do 2 podcasts. Where's the second one? I mean, dude, it is a nightmare sometimes looking through creators' link trees. I made an entire website, just popcast.co, for the purpose of everyone. Here's everything I have, whether you care about it or not. But so many creators don't do that. It'd be really nice if that was an easier thing, and you didn't have to actually know how to make a website in order to send people to where you want them to go.
I'm feeling really called out here, Popcast.
Yeah, you're one of them, bro. You're one of them.
All right, guys, let's move on to talk about one of our all-time favorite franchises, Indiana Jones. It was announced this week that there was going to be some type of Indiana Jones TV show that Lucasfilm is going to be basically, producing. And there were a lot of rumors about this. Hold on a sec. Are you guys getting an echo?
I did for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, Variety is reporting that Disney is desperate for a win. Lucasfilm is desperate for a win. It doesn't look like Indiana Jones 5 is going to do the numbers that they're hoping it's going to do because it's been delayed for so long, and people are just not excited about it because Steven Spielberg's not involved and all this stuff. And Doomcock's been calling out a lot of rumors about this to the point where James Mangold had to open his big fat mouth again and basically accuse the ruler of the world that he's a basement dweller, which was our moniker. We trademarked that first, Doomcock, just so you know. But the rumors flying around here are that the Indiana Jones TV show is going to be a prequel show. And originally the rumor was that it was going to focus around Marion Ravenwood, who of course was Karen Allen in the first and fourth movies, or the supposed fourth movie that's supposed to exist. And now it's being said that it's going to be her father, Abner Ravenwood, who was basically Indy's mentor. And that's going to be the focus of the show. That way no one's playing Indiana Jones other than Harrison Ford. And we can still have the kind of like capers and adventures and stuff like that with Abner as opposed to Indy. And we actually got to see Abner in the lead up to the Holy Grail movie, where he was the guy who was dressed as Indy at the beginning, and he gives Indy his hat. That was Abner Ravenwood. So we have a little bit of a precedence for this, but with Willow going woke and all the Star Wars series like varying wildly in quality, I wanted to get your guys' take on this. Do you think this is a good idea? And do you think the prequel with Abner Ravenwood is the way to go? Matt from Foul Ball, let's start with you.
I saw this great meme the other day. I don't know if you're familiar, where it's like they show Mr. Incredible and they're like in normal color, and then they show it in black and white on the side. Like, have you seen that meme? No. It'd be good if I had that visual aid ready to go. But it's basically just saying, like, when you first 10 years ago, when you heard they're adapting your favorite thing versus now when you hear they're adapting your favorite thing, you're just like, oh no, you're going to ruin it. Don't touch it. So it's like, I couldn't imagine watching anything on Disney Plus, let alone Indiana Jones prequel show about Abner Ravenwood at this time in history. Like 10 years ago, maybe. Now, I mean, I would need like so much positive feedback from that's the meme. Thank you. That's it. I would need so much feedback, for positive feedback, and then still probably like a good year or two afterwards for me to feel comfortable enough to even begin to approach watching something like that at this juncture.
What about you, Brian? Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm sorry. Is the movie not happening anymore?
No, it's happening. It's still happening.
Oh, it is a complete dumpster fire.
Such a roller coaster of emotions. This movie was supposed to. It was supposed to come out 3 years ago. And it's like, no, maybe 2, maybe 1 year ago, maybe, we'll let you know. Like, what the, we might do a TV show. I mean, oh my God. Oh, figure it out. That meme is so perfect. I'm glad you brought it up, because it feels like, even though I feel in my heart I should be excited about this awesome new show based on a franchise that I adore with all my heart, I really feel like it is a 8 out of 10 chance that it's just going to be completely ruined, and it's going to make that franchise toxic to you. Like, dude, I used to love Star Wars. You can't see it here, but like, look. See that?
Yeah.
Those are the original tapes, man. The original tapes from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I love Star Wars, or I loved. And I have those tapes now simply because they're valuable, and not because I actually care anymore, because I care so little about Star Wars. We have a Star Wars channel that my brother Shane really wants to get off the ground. And no matter how good Andor is, I just can't get into it, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was a great episode, but like the whole show, it just doesn't. It's been ruined for me.
And there's no buzz. This is the first time I've heard anyone talk about Andor since it came out.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's because they go, oh well, people are tired of Star Wars. There's been too much. There's been too much garbage.
I literally forgot to watch it this week until Matt piped off on something on Discord.
I know, bro.
It was. It's like, oh yeah, that show's on.
Same thing. My brother was oh, don't forget we're reviewing Andor. It was a really great episode. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So the thing is, this is what's been happening, and it was happening with Star Trek for me for a while too. Until Strange New Worlds, I was starting, and I am like, dude, we're like the Star Trek channel, dude, right?
Yeah.
I was starting to wane, and I was like, I don't know if I care anymore about this. Finally, Strange New World injected some. Wasn't even perfect, but injected some fun into it, and I'm definitely back on board now that I've seen Picard season 3. But for a long time, it took a lot of very passionate people to drive that ship back to a point where it was remotely reasonable. So yeah, that's the problem. These new shows, hey, when they announced Stargate, you think that'd be a great thing for us, right? We have a lot of Stargate videos that are really popular on our channel, but I am terrified because I don't know what we're gonna do if it's bad. Because like, are we gonna stop covering Stargate? We made the documentary. Are we gonna stop covering Stargate? Because like, if it's bad, we're not gonna cover it. Yeah,
your channel's built on Stargate. It's your foundation, man.
It's like Stargate all the way.
Real quick, we got a super chat from Whiskey Jack for £2. Thank you, sir. I roll prequel, suck a Frankfurter.
Yeah.
I always say that prequels are always like the uncreative way of moving forward with a franchise.
I blame George. I blame George for making the whole concept of prequels popular. He didn't do a great job in making prequels. I'm definitely in that camp of the prequels still suck. Yeah, I don't care what anybody says.
Same.
And
they're horrible.
And
from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Yeah, and it's just a lazy way for studios to make content. And
I will say that in this instance, though, I think that if they can't go with Indy, if they're going to go with Abner, that's probably the best way to go about it, because we don't know anything about Abner Ravenwood. We don't know like the adventures he went on.
He'll be a transgender community activist.
having the earlier time period where like it was still kind of like before World War II and all this other stuff. Like I think it could be an interesting take on the series. But Culture, I want to go to you about this because last week we covered a video by Star Wars Theory where he basically went through an article that kind of detailed what's going on inside Lucasfilm right now. Like Michelle Rejwan has been demoted. Apparently Kathleen Kennedy, she's promoted this culture of fear and indecision within the company. Like nobody knows what to do. They've kind of milked the nostalgia factor to the most they can, and now they're running out of ideas. And so like everyone's getting a Star Wars movie. We're going to talk about that in a second. But in addition to that, nobody knows what the hell to do or what audiences are responding to. And so do you think that this is just emblematic of it? It's like, well, this is part of the IP Disney paid for. So they won Indiana Jones series. And now everyone's like, well, what do we put out there? Like, could it just be another Young Indiana Jones adventure type thing, or a prequel? What do you think?
It would be in their best interest, if they're going to do this, is to not do the Abner Ravenwood show. It would be to focus on Henry Sr., his dad, because, you know, obviously his dad was also an archaeologist, correct? But I can see them doing it from that perspective. I think if you remember back, and I'm old enough to remember back, the Young Indiana Jones show had a lot of room, right? And it was something that you could recreate now fairly easily for Disney Plus. But Kathleen Kennedy was put in a cage back when Iger was still in charge. A lot of what she went about announcing, if you've noticed that everything that she's announced in the last several years with the, you know, when it comes to the shows or anything else, she hasn't really been able to put a movie out in the world. She is obviously poised, and they've run out of creative ideas, I would say, even before Mandalorian. It's why they had to bring in somebody else from the outside to try to approach anything Star Wars related. You have things falling apart left and right. I think the only thing that has been, you know, chugging forward ever, regardless, has been this Acolyte thing, but that's been moving at a snail's pace. We're about to see the complete destruction of Lucasfilm. There is no possible way that this show will be good because of the very thing you brought up. They're out of ideas, but you guys you're not even focusing on the bigger picture here. We have another Lucasfilm product coming out in less than 16 days. The Willow television Disney Plus thing will be out.
Oh, that's right.
On November 30th. You will literally see the complete and utter destruction of Lucasfilm culminated in the next year, because you will have Willow destroyed because of what they're doing with that program. And you will have obviously Indy destroyed because of everything that was true all along about what we heard way back in 2019 that this film was going to be. So it's bad news. I didn't even answer remotely what the question was. I just know that they have a lot more issues at Lucasfilm. There are going to be severe cuts in Lucasfilm, Disney Animation, etc. They're not only in a hiring freeze, they're about to go through a layoff cycle of substance. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of humans, especially on the production side of the equation. So you will see large scale cutbacks, not just in animation, but also in live production. You're going to see entire teams of people that are deemed, you know, unnecessary get eliminated from all of these different areas, including Marvel. So you're going to see massive cutbacks. They can't afford to do what they've been doing for as long as they've been doing it. So they need this Indiana Jones to be a success, and it's not going to be. I don't know that. I think this television program idea was floated as a trial balloon. I don't think that it could actually move forward. I don't think it's going to exist in the world because of reactions like we just had. We have complete apathy. Brian just pointed out, huge Star Wars fans, got the tapes up on the wall and all of that, right? Mine are safely and secure in one of these boxes to my lap.
I think Disney's good at throwing little teasers out there at the fans to see what kind of reactions they get. Well, hey, let's throw, you know, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but let's give a movie to every director in Hollywood and see what kind of reaction we get. Let's announce 57 different things that we want to release at Disney, at the Disney convention. But, you know, let's give them a cool graphic and see what kind of response we get. None of those things have come to fruition, really, except for, you know, some animated shows that you know. But none of
Vader. We talked last week about Chris Gore's take on Willow, because he saw the first 3 episodes, and he talked about how radically woke they made that show, and it's not even Willow's show. He's like a minor character in the series. How do you think they're going to ruin Indy if they actually do like an Indiana Jones show?
I have no idea. You know, honestly, man, I saw that I saw this news and I read the article, and the article is just a fluff piece. It doesn't say anything. It just says, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this," and then, "Hey, did you hear about how they're doing this other thing with these other directors?" It's nothing. It's a nothing burger, man. It's a, if they wanted to make an interesting prequel, give us a 6-episode miniseries about Short Round or something.
Well, I remember. I think
give us a character that we liked and were interested in. Nobody cares about the doctor dude from Indy 4 who had the crystal skull. What's his name? I don't even remember his fucking name. But I don't know. It's just from a fan, man, I can't talk. I haven't even been drinking. From a fan standpoint, I just don't see the interest. I'm a hardcore indie fan. I loved indie. I like indie more than I like Star Wars.
Same. I've watched.
And
I've read
I
all
have
their indie
no
books.
interest in 5, and I have no interest in this series. Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford is 90 years old almost, or whatever the hell he is.
It's true.
I don't want to see anybody else with the whip. I don't care if it's a prequel or what. I'm just not interested. So
Matt, you mentioned Kadish, you mentioned a few minutes ago about the controversy around the film itself and all of the things that we've heard about the test screenings and so on and so forth, and that made the sludge crawl out from the swamp to kind of defend it. I mean, Mangold, right? And where do you fall on that? Because I mean, this is something I would figure would hit pretty close to home, not just because it's Mangold, but because it's indie.
I love Indiana Jones. I hope the movie's good, as long as it's better than 4. And I would love an Indiana Jones TV show if it was handled correctly, because I love the franchise. So, it's all about track record, though, right? What have we seen from Lucasfilm? They've steadily and systematically destroyed every valuable IP that they have in that studio, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better.
No.
But let's move on here, and let's talk about, since we're on the topic of Lucasfilm, let's talk about Star Wars for a minute. So basically, Shawn Levy, who is the director of like Free Guy and the Adam Project, and he's going to be doing Deadpool 3. He was just announced to get a Star Wars film, and at this point, I feel like Kathleen Kennedy's like Oprah. She's like, you get a Star Wars film, and you get a Star Wars film, and you get a Star Wars film. Everyone gets a Star Wars film. And because we've heard what Kevin Feige has one. There's the Rian Johnson trilogy. There's Taika Waititi. There's Damon Lindelof. Like, so many people are coming out and saying like, hey, I'm getting a Star. But before that, there was Benioff and Weiss before they moved to Netflix. So many people come out and announce, hey, I'm doing a Star Wars movie, and then like nothing ever happens with it. And Shawn Levy, in fact, this guy J.D. Dillard was announced to be getting a Star Wars movie, and then he came out and says like, oh yeah, I'm no longer doing that. So it just seems like they're trying desperately to find a director who can actually get a Star Wars movie into theaters. And Shawn Levy has a pretty good track record in the sense that he's made some good fun movies. So like he might actually be a good choice for this, and he's not as controversial as someone like Taika Waititi or Rian Johnson or something like that. But it's again, we talked about the fear and indecision over at Lucasfilm, and the fact that because of Solo, they're so gun shy about putting out a new Star Wars movie. They just don't seem to know what they're doing over there. Matt Bader 74, what's your take on this? Would you like to see a Shawn Levy directed Star Wars movie starring
sure
Ryan Reynolds?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, how do you answer that question? What was the Netflix movie that they just did?
Adam Project.
Yeah, that was okay.
They had lightsabers in that.
Yeah, that was fun. It was a fun movie. Is it on the level of a Star Wars movie? No. I don't know. I don't even know what I want out of the Star Wars movie going forward anymore, to be honest with you. I'm terrified we're going to get the adventures of Broom Boy or something stupid if we go forward. I'm almost to the point now to where this was George Lucas's baby. And if it doesn't come from the brain of George Lucas, I don't know if it's something that we really want to see. It's never going to feel like it did when we were younger. And it's hard. Star Wars is super hard for me now because they've taken all the joy in that childhood wonder from the series from me. Maybe if they had a huge shakeup, if they fired all the woke idiots at Lucasfilm, and if they gave the baton to Filoni and the boys over there and let them make Lucas inspired Star Wars, maybe I'd be on board again.
That can work.
You know what I'm saying? But as long as Kathy's there with her cabal of witches, no, I'm just not really all that interested anymore. And I don't think that they can make I don't think they're going to be able to make a movie that anybody wants to see as long as she's still there. I really don't. So
I want to highlight this comment by Nick Clark. He says, "Who cares directing? Who is writing?"
yeah,
Actually, when it comes to movies, the director is the lead storyteller. He's the one who basically approves what the writers deliver him, gives them feedback on the story he wants to tell. So in filmmaking, the director is very important because they're the one shaping the overall story. They'll fire writers, they'll bring in new writers. They'll ultimately make the judgment call of what makes it into the final script, what they're going to shoot.
It depends, though. It depends because there's also that thing known as final cut that like directors covet, which means like they have the
well
final
that
say.
happens after they've shot everything and written everything. So
yeah,
so
but,
basically
like, people...
in the script, well, I mean, I've done filmmaking before, so I know how the process goes. And basically, when you're developing the script, the director has the final say of what goes into the script. And if there are studio notes and stuff like that, yeah, you have to deal with that. But for the most part, the director is the lead storyteller, which is why it's important who the director of the movie is.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I mean, there's definitely been examples like Louis C.K. like very notoriously had that movie Pootie Tang, and the studio took it from him, re-edited it, added a voiceover that wasn't in the original script. So it's like there are examples in history where they can basically just be like, yeah, we're gonna make our movie now with
I
what
thought
you
that was
shot.
a Chris Rock movie, Pootie Tang.
I mean, Louis C.K. wrote and directed it.
Oh, did he really? I thought that was
I think it was a collaboration with Chris Rock, but yeah, it was like his thing, and the studio just mauled it. And there's like lots of stories like that where it's like that's not what we shot. Like, where even is that footage from? Like, it's like, they'll go back, do reshoots, they'll add characters. There's lots of ways they can mess up a movie. But I think in this particular instance with Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds, look, Free Guy I thought was excellent. I thought that was a fantastic movie. It was super fun, and Levy seems to have a good grasp on like capturing innocence. Like both of his leads in the Adam Project and Free Guy have like a strong amount of innocence, and they grow throughout the movie. And him and Ryan Reynolds coming in have a lot of producing power because they basically strong-armed Marvel, and not they, but Reynolds was able to strong-arm Marvel and get an actual good Deadpool through that was like R-rated and gritty and rough. I'm not saying it's going to be a good movie, but that team, it's going to be harder to squash them if you're going to hire them. I don't know if that means it'll make a good movie, but it's possible.
Well, Kennedy's producing style is basically she hires talented people, and then just lets them do whatever the hell they want. And then she comes in if there's like a mistake, and then she has to like clean
she
house.
Fires everybody. Yeah,
exactly. Culture. You mentioned The Acolyte a little bit earlier, where that's an upcoming Star Wars TV show set in the Old Republic era, which is kind of like it's going to focus on the dawn of the Sith. And that's by Leslie Headland, who is basically this LGBT executive that used to be Harvey Weinstein's like assistant. And she ran a bunch of cover for him and all of his bad behavior. And the Acolyte's big on like the diversity of its casting. It's an African American leading lady. And all this other stuff. So it's more proof of like the woke culture that's going on over in Lucasfilm. How do you think this translates to Shawn Levy, whose stuff has been just very mainstream? Like there's no wokeism, and in fact they make a lot of fun of that stuff in Daredevil or in Deadpool and stuff like that. Do you think Shawn Levy would be a better choice than someone like Taika Waititi?
Oh, certainly, but I still think everybody here is overly optimistic. Will this movie ever get made? I doubt it. anything that's been out there that's been trial ballooned here has been knocked out of knocked down. I mean, they are terrified. I think you even said it, Kadish, that they're terrified to make Star Wars. They're shying away from making films. They can't even get the TV shows right for the most part. Do I think he would do a great job? Sure, he's got a track record. I mean, Matt just went through his Foulball went through his successes. I'm a huge fan of Deadpool. I mean that's my jam, right? So it's like, it's like I said, is it going to get made? I think that's the ultimate question here. I don't think so. First of all, she doesn't have the power to greenlight the films. So, again, it's a trial balloon running by and up and down the chain. We'll have to see, because ultimately, it's going to come from a level above her to decide whether or not they move forward on a film project. So you can announce all the directors and writers that you want, but you have to get that by somebody's eyeballs who say, okay, you can make this. They're spending money like crazy at Disney. I'll return to my earlier point. You're going to see massive cutbacks inside these organizations, including Lucasfilm. But do I think it would make a great project? I do. I think it would be great.
Yeah, Brian, the last Star Wars movie they announced was going to be the Rogue Squadron one that Patty Jenkins was going to direct. And then a month later, they were like, nope, psych, just kidding. We're not making that movie. Why do you think it's so hard for them to make a Star Wars movie? And why do you think they keep bringing in all these new filmmakers to announce that they're going to be doing a Star Wars movie?
I think that I think the studio, it doesn't communicate properly with its I don't want to be the guy who invokes Kathleen Kennedy's name, because I know if you say Kathleen Kennedy too many times, Doomcock will appear behind you and try to murder you.
He's already there.
But in reality, is Kathleen Kennedy is sort of the buck stops. She is an administrator and not a creative guidance, right? So what you have is, like, look at Feige for Marvel. He's a very unique person where, at least until recently, he was capable of guiding both the creative and the business side of the studio. Only until recently, when he started, I guess he doesn't want to be canceled anymore, so he just started letting creators do whatever they wanted to do, did Marvel start to become so similar to what Star Wars is right now. And you look at Warner Brothers and DC Studios. They put two people in charge of DC Studios. Peter Safran, who is going to do the business, who is very good at the business. The guy can turn a $100,000 horror movie into a $20 million, banger. And then James Gunn, who is extraordinarily creative. So you have two people going to run the studio. One's running the creative, one's running the financial. Well, Kathleen Kennedy, maybe she's great at running the financial, the business side of it, but she is clearly not good at running the creative side of it. So Star Wars needs take Favreau or Filoni and make them the creative side of it, and let Kathleen Kennedy run the business. But they need a creative person, and I think that her Kathleen Kennedy's entire model is, I'm just going to try to find the best people for the job, not the best people to make Star Wars, but the best people to her. This is the best person.
And her method of getting the best person for the job is just getting a bunch of names and throwing them against the refrigerator and seeing what sticks.
Right.
It doesn't work.
It's not like this is the best person for Star Wars. No, this is the best person to me. She's not a Star Wars fan. She's a self-admitted. She's admitted on camera that until recently I wasn't a Star Wars fan. I don't know. I'm not sure why you even have the job then. This is one of the most important IPs of all time. So maybe you should let her run the business side of it. She's probably good at that. At least that's what I've heard. So, but get someone else in there to run the creative side of it who's actually a fan of Star Wars. Like Feige was a fan of Marvel. And I'm telling you, until recently, Feige was doing it right. And only recently did he start falling off, because he started letting creatives run their own stuff. And they really stopped caring so much about the grander scheme of things, and it's become very formulaic for that same reason. You know, oh, you do whatever you want, but you got to start here and end here. Well, that's not really.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
clinical,
I would say that Frank's really good at the business side of things. I don't know that Kathy is. I don't really know what she's good at. And Spielberg kind of went on a little bit of a somewhat well-known conversation about her abilities at some point in time. Like I said, I've not been her fan ever. Unfortunately, her name's attached to like most of my favorite things. Because it's in the credits, and she's proved herself to be terrible at the business side of things because she's firing directors left and right. She has announced projects, fired directors. She paid for 90% of a film, only to kill it off with the directors and bring in Ron Howard to pull off a holdo maneuver and essentially destroy a film completely with Solo. So
I forgot about that maneuver.
Yeah, and
let's ruin the entire universe's physics, the way it works, and invent this maneuver.
It's a slow speed chase with spaceships.
I feel like we had this conversation like 2 years ago.
Sorry.
It was so bad. That movie started off with bombers slowly trying to make their way.
Bro, stop.
Aren't they like bombers that they use like gravity in space? Like,
there's gravity.
It's gonna fall down. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you can't fly your ship up without like some kind of a transmitter. I mean, there's 1,000 different reasons why Star Wars made no sense for like the last movies. It's like, what did you do? It's really easy. It's cowboys in space to flip. Anyway,
I watched 4 minutes of that movie when they had like the gag where he's on the phone on like the communicator and he's trying to get through and then he trolls him. I was just like, I'm out. I am out. There's no way I'm watching this shit.
It was a Yo Mama joke too.
It was. Right, I was like, oh, okie dokie.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We've kind of talked about how social justice is ruining entertainment a little bit, at least in Star Wars. But let's talk a little bit about how it's ruining comedy. A story came out here that Saturday Night Live writers are boycotting Dave Chappelle on his third hosting duty. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted at this because Chappelle's like one of the most talented comedians working. He's an African-American man. And basically, because of his jokes about trans people and gay people, the writers have basically said, we're not going to do our jobs while he's hosting. And we have a quote here where basically a writer for the show, Celeste Yim, wrote on Instagram, "I'm a trans and non-binary. I use they, them pronouns. Transphobia is murder and it should be condemned." And so Chappelle is basically like, oh, okay, I'll just write all the sketches myself. No big deal. But, and we got to be a little bit careful about how we talk about this because we're on YouTube. So choose your words carefully. But one of the funny things about Elon taking over Twitter, and he basically said Twitter's safe for comedy again. And it turns out that comedy shows aren't even safe for comedy at this point. So I want to get your guys' take on this. Matt Vader, I know you have a lot to say.
I everything I have to say will get the channel canceled. Okay, I'm not even joking. I hope he rocks it. I don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since Will Ferrell was on Saturday Night Live, and that was 20 years ago now, right? I don't know anybody who's on this show. I really don't. I don't know anything about it. So I'm really kind of shocked that he's even going on the show, to be honest with you. I mean, it's so irrelevant these days. Saturday Night Live used to push the culture. It used to be, something that everybody talked about the next day. I don't even know anybody who watches it or talks about it. Dude, ever.
I didn't even know it was live, bro.
I didn't even know that it was still
news to me.
I barely know it was still on, until some things like this come out. Dave Chappelle is he doesn't need Saturday Night Live. I'm really shocked that he's going on there. I'm hoping he does write everything. This dude is next level God tier status celebrity nowadays. He doesn't need this show. So I guess they can bitch and moan and complain about how their imaginary worlds are being infringed upon, but I hope he goes in there and just destroys all of them. I really do. But he probably won't. I'm sure he'll be cool for most of it. You know, so I don't know. What do you say? Saturday Night Live. It's irrelevant to me. It's not fun. It's not funny. It's just not what it used to be. So anyway.
All right, Matt, number 3 from Foul Ball. What do you think about this?
I thought it was interesting that you brought up that he's a black guy, which is like, that's only relevant if you agree with all of their things. The second you don't agree, that doesn't actually matter. And then you become like a total pariah outcast. So it doesn't, you know, it's like, it's weird how they always weaponize that until you don't agree. And then it's just, you know, you're the worst person alive. I mean, SNL sucks. I haven't watched it in years. It's not funny. It's ham-fisted. I don't even really, even in their heyday, I wasn't like a huge fan. I was like, oh, it's fine. I think it still matters as far as like the big public conversation. You know what I mean? Like it's still acknowledged as a big platform. So if Chappelle goes on there and really like, you know, hits a home run, it does create ripples. Like the big media outlets will still talk about it, and we're talking about it, right? So there's a lot of press associated with doing that show, even as irrelevant as it is. I think, you know, Chappelle doing like anything is going to get people talking. So I don't know. I mean, like I kind of feel like Matt does. It's like I don't really care, but if he goes on there and, you know, does some great sketches, cool. We've got some good comedy for a little while. If he doesn't, it's just going to be another episode of SNL I don't watch. So I don't care. I'm not even kind of surprised that people who work there are boycotting or being upset about it. It's like, of course, yeah, like he's one of those guys. It'd be like if Rogan did it. They'd be like, this is a dangerous workspace, whatever. You know, it's like you don't agree with the thing. You don't spread propaganda. You're a bad person. So it's like, you know, woke gonna woke. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, this is just another day that ends in Y. You know, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
so Brian, one of the funniest sketch comedy shows of all time is the Chappelle Show. And I think if Chappelle has to actually come in and write the whole episode of Saturday Night Live that he's hosting, it'll probably be the funniest episode of Saturday Night Live in decades. What's your take on this? Do you think the writers have a justification in basically boycotting this one host?
Well, listen, as the queer rep here, let me tell you. No, you know, I hope they do. I hope the writers boycott the entire thing, and Dave Chappelle gets his giant testicles, pulls them up, drops them on the writer's table, and says, "I'll just do it myself." And then we get the Dave Chappelle show part two, the 2022 variant, because that's what it'll be. It'll be the Chappelle show in 2022. I'll take it. Yeah,
I would probably watch that.
All of you guys, please stay home. Please stay offended. Stay home and show what your entire writer's staff is capable of when one guy can do your job better than all of you at the same time. I want to see that.
He's going to show up and he's like, oh, there's no writers. Oh, well, hold on. I got this binder right here full of skits.
Right.
And slam it down on the
Yeah,
desk.
write it yourself,
Dave. I've been wanting to
do
do these since 1997. Yeah.
How many writers are at SNL?
I don't know. Maybe
Writers are
10.
huge.
Yeah.
But,
So consider this. Okay. So yeah, there are at least 12 writers at SNL at any given time. 12. So Dave, please go on there. Let them all out. In fact, I would go in there and be like, hello, there's a couple of you left. No, you leave. Everyone leave. I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to show why your 12 jobs are totally redundant in this space. And just do your job, do their job better.
You know, culture, you were talking about the layoffs that Disney's getting ready to do. Obviously, NBC is owned by Comcast. They haven't announced any layoffs or anything like that. But how hard would it be to find 12 new comedy writers to just, you know, fire, if they're not going to do their jobs, fire these guys and bring in someone new?
You can do it tomorrow. Just go to Compound Media or anybody else. You can get rid of everybody there. It wouldn't be that hard. There are real comedians out there that are, you know, working the circuit every day. I don't know if you guys go to comedy shows. You know, you have a local, you know, comedy club or whatever. But there's
Chuckle Bucket.
Well, there's still people out there, and believe it or not, actually, Comcast has quietly laid off a lot of people over the last 3 to 4 years. But that show is completely under the control of one man for the most part, and he's the reason that it fails. And if you look at the way it's failing, consider this: this thing, ratings wise, has become just it's a pariah. We're looking at the thing falling off to the end of every season, somewhere around 3 million viewers. This is a show that used to, you know, rock the, you know, the 12 bill pretty readily way back in the day. And, you know, linear TV is less significant. I know there's a lot of arguments to be made for that, but there are times when the audience doesn't even rise over the 3 million point. And this is supposed to be the culturally relevant show that we're all supposed to, you know, enjoy, you know.
I think there's bigger YouTube channels out there than
100%. 100%.
But it's frustrating because, again, you know, and what's funny is, and I know you guys know this, but like once a year I seem to do a ratings like exploration video on my channel about SNL specifically and other things like that. And you know, when it wrapped in 2021, I'm like, look at how far this thing fell. And not only that, show to show, this show falls off significantly. You usually get a big bump at the beginning of the year with, you know, like a good guest and a good musical guest combined. And then it'll go down for a few weeks after that show, and then it'll go up because they get a good guest and a good musical guest, and it'll go down. It just sucks. Would it be easy to fire them? Getting back to your question, yeah, fire them all. I mean, we have people on YouTube that write better jokes. Go hire Chrissy Mayer, like I said, and everybody else that we're familiar with.
Yeah,
sure.
That'll happen.
Well, no,
sure.
but see, that's the problem is because the minute you put any type of ideological agenda into one of these things, and that's the core basis for writing comedy, you're absent anything that's funny, because there's the core of SJW mindset process, whatever you want to call it, is, you know, you can't do all these things. You can't bully, you can't make fun, you can't call out specific, you know, the stereotypes, yada yada yada. You got nothing left, you know. So they attack white people, which is the primary audience for the, you know, these shows on linear TV. So it's old people like me, because everybody else watches shit on their phone. I'm cursing now, and I apologize, but
it's okay.
Easy.
But well, you know me, I don't usually curse, but this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that frustrates me, is because I'm like, okay, so you're eliminating all of your cores for an ideology that is infinitesimally smallly adhered to by a even diminished fraction of humanity as time goes on. So whatever. Anyway,
there's much funnier things out there on YouTube. Anyway,
I'm not so sure it has like the cachet with good comics. Like, even like I was listening to Ryan Long talk about that, and he does sketches every week. He's like, I wouldn't want to be on that. Like, that's so passe, and it's not cool, and it's like lame. Like, I get to do my own thing. Why would I ever want to subject myself to that? You know, he was like completely against the idea. And I think like you see how many just genuinely good comics have created empires, like Andrew Schultz. I mean, his YouTube channel, his specials, he does insane money. He doesn't need them. Like, comedy of all content proved it does not need a corporate overlord to be successful. There is so many more avenues now, and it's thriving. Like, comedy right now is maybe the best it's ever been. So why would you want to go back there? Like, no.
I get my weekly dose by watching Segura and Bert Kreischer every week. Those guys kill me every week. Every week,
hilarious.
They're hilarious, you know, and
they're doing arena tours. They don't need like SNL or Comedy Central. No, they're
and it should be pointed out that the highest rated SNL episode of the past couple years was the one Elon Musk did. You know, like last year, and but I can see why, you know, like, comedians get discovered on Saturday Night Live. They get kind of pushed in the industry. They're able to get movie deals and all that good stuff. But real quick, I want to point out this super chat from Nikki D, which we got a little bit ago. We kind of skipped over it, for $5. Thank you so much, Nikki. We really appreciate that. Top Gun Maverick turned out to be a surprisingly successful sequel. Why can't Disney replicate that success with Star Wars? Well, maybe they should give Tom Cruise a Star Wars movie, and then it'll happen. You know,
Star Wars movie.
Yes, exactly. But I don't know why it's so hard to take, this legendary franchise and make something that people enjoy with it. Like it should be a no-brainer, but what can you say? It all comes down to leadership. I think the fact that Kathleen Kennedy is not a good leader is really affecting all the IPs that she's managing. Yeah, Culture, you want to say?
No, I just was going to say. So we've just said she's not a good leader. She's not a good business person. She's not a good creative. Why is she there?
Exactly.
Because George Lucas handpicked her, and she's got major people backing her in that position. So
I'm going to get a T-shirt made, and it's going to just say, "I blame George."
Well, I also wanted to let everyone know that we really appreciate your super chats.
Yes,
We've only gotten 6 super chats so far this stream, so if we can get a couple more before we log off, that'd be really great. So if you guys have the money to spare and you want to help support the channel, please feel free to drop us super chats. We're more than happy to read them on here. All right, so speaking of stuff that's been going downhill steadily, I want to talk about James Cameron's latest talk about Avatar and how he may actually bail on this franchise. That it took him.
Did he finally catch up to the conversation?
So
Okay.
it looks like
Sounds
he is. So this comes from Daily Wire, and basically this latest interview with James Cameron, I found it very interesting because he's talking about that if people don't give a crap about Avatar 2 and 3, he's basically just going to be like, okay, moving on. He's going to tank it. And he has 5 Avatar movies in total planned. So like the first one's already out, the second one's coming out. Apparently he shot the third one. So the third one's done.
It's done.
Right. So like we're definitely getting 3 Avatar movies for sure. But he's like, if 2 and 3 underperform or don't do all that well, I'm just going to move on. But he's hoping that he gets to 4 because he's like, look, I've written 5 scripts. I have like this big story I want to tell. But if it's not in the cards, I'll just go F off and do something else, which I found kind of interesting because that's typical James Cameron. And I love James Cameron. I'm always a fan of his movies. I don't think he's made like a bad movie, even though I didn't think the first Avatar was all that great. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't like a bad film. So I have a lot of faith that like he's probably going to deliver on these things, but at this point, I don't think a lot of people just care about the franchise. So Brian, what do you think of Cameron basically saying like, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just move on?
Finally, people stopped caring about Avatar 3 years after the first Avatar. It's been way too long for a sequel to come out, let alone invest. I mean, like, look, I get it. Like, you want to do a sequel? All right, do a sequel. Not let's do 3 movies back to back. Like, it's like read the room. You haven't even seen what people's excitement level is. Clearly, it's not very, very high. And the trailers aren't helping because the trailers are so boring. Oh
yeah, they really are.
They do nothing for me. So I think James Cameron loves this world. He wants it to be like his Star Wars or whatever, and I get that. But, make a movie. Make one movie, see how it goes. If we're all like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty good, man. Hey, thanks, James. Make another movie. Okay. Then the money will show that, and you can. But what I'm looking at is I'm seeing...
I forgot Jay's a big Avatar fan.
He is.
I'm sorry, man.
Send him a link.
You're gonna hate me right now, but Avatar 1 was not a good movie. I'm sorry. It was Pocahontas in space. It was not a very good movie. You want to see a better movie? Go watch Dance with Wolves, man. Avatar was not a good movie. It had great graphics. That's it. And now we get 20 years later or so, we're getting another one. But okay, that's fine. But why 4 more? I don't understand the concept. Like, whose business idea was it to do 4 more movies in a row? That makes no sense to me.
Culture. Why did it take so long to get a sequel to Avatar, do you think?
I can't. From his own mouth in multiple interviews now, he said because the technology for underwater capture wasn't advanced enough to do what he wanted to do. And apparently the person that's best at holding their breath underwater, I just forgot her name. Blonde star in this film. Oh my gosh. Anyway, they actually had the actors and actresses holding their breath, and that's it's good. You know what?
Why not just shoot dry for wet like Aquaman did?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, they're obviously doing so great with that over at Disney when you look at The Little Mermaid, but let's set that aside for later. I have to say this. I enjoyed the first film quite a lot. Drunk and I kind of have probably bonded over, how cool the attraction is at Disney's Animal Kingdom as far as that. If Cameron wants to get the bang for the bucks out of 5 movies, he's going to have to make 5 compelling films. I'm not sure. Again, I mean, it's an ecological story. How many times are you going to retell the same ecological story, with, people bad, nature good? Because that's going to be what we're going to get 5 times in a row. You got it in the first film. You're going to get it in The Way of the Water. What's going to be next? The Way of the Air? I don't know.
The fire. I can't wait till they get to the fire tribe.
Yeah, I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
What if these whole things are set up for actual, like the Avatar animated?
Oh shit! It was all like an okie doke.
Brian, what do you mean? All these movies are animated. They're just like the most expensive animated films ever made.
My bad. Slip of the tongue.
You look at the fact that all in Disney, if they do make all 5. If they make the next 4 film, or I guess they already have two of them done, but if they make the 2 after that, plus the investment in the theme park infrastructure they did for World of Pandora or whatnot, they're in for $3 billion at that point. Is that franchise going to return that kind of money?
I gotta be honest. I wouldn't mind seeing the theme park. I don't care about the movie, but I would like to see the theme park.
I thought they did it. I thought they underserved the theme park development there with the 2 attractions that they got. Yeah. It's the same thing they did with Star Wars. That was an underserved opportunity with the tiny little land with nothing that connects anybody to anything because nobody liked the sequel trilogy. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a huge waste of money, and Disney's going to eat that 3rd film. I think that's what's going to happen. And that's why Landau came out in a recent interview. I don't know if you guys saw this. He said that they had the first act of the 4th film kind of already ready to go, which means they could essentially use part of that 4th film to end the 3rd film if they had to draw the line there. Would be
well, I know Cameron has come out and basically said that the 4th film is basically the best one in the series. And he's like, I hope I get to that point. It's like, okay,
why don't you write this one to make it good?
I know foul ball. Like it seems like Cameron, even though he doesn't give a shit, he's kind of waking up to the fact that maybe he's overestimated people's interest in the franchise. What do you think of this interview that he made?
I mean, I do think it's interesting that like he's just like, wait a minute, you mean people might not be interested in this? It's like that's what all anyone's been saying. Like everyone's just like, why are we getting 6 Avatar films? It seems a bit excessive. I mean, I could be interested in a sequel. Sometimes like a long gap in between sequels actually works. I mean, if you look at the Terminator and Alien franchises, those were like 7-8 years in between those movies, and they huge successes. So it totally could work, and I would go see it. I like the first Avatar, but like, it just seems like a lot. It just seems like someone who, like, it's very Howard Hughes-esque, just someone who's like behind a big wall of money, just playing with his toys, and then like comes and rejoins society. Yeah, and then he's just like, wait, I'm the weird one. I'm kind of like, yeah, sort of. Yeah, you're the weird one. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll watch it, but it's kind of funny. You're just like, all right, dude. I guess 17 Avatar films. Keep them going.
Sure.
Real quick before we get to Vader, we got 2 super chats to get to. If we can pull those up. So Nikki D for another $5. Thank you, Nikki. If Black Panther 2 ultimately underperforms at the box office, will there be any meaningful leadership changes at Marvel Studios? No. How about no?
How about no?
Yeah, Kevin Feige is not going anywhere, unfortunately.
The only way to get rid of Alonzo is if in her contract and in Feige's contracts, if there are performance metrics that they have to meet with their releases. That's the only way to take something tangible to the board to remove some of these people in these positions, especially since they're so greased in because of how they align with the agenda.
Well, Feige's also an institution now. If they get rid of him, they're basically getting rid of Marvel Studios.
okay,
so
but
I don't see him going anywhere.
Well, but successively, how many successes can he point towards in the last 2 years?
Well, I don't think any of those movies have lost money.
Yeah,
but they cost an awful lot of money. They don't make a ton of money. They aren't moving merchandise.
Yeah, they are making money.
I mean, Disney has a whole lot of columns they expect to rise. Sorry, Matt.
Well, it always comes down to licensing, right? So as long as the licensing can make up any deficit that a movie has, it's considered a win for the studio. So Marvel movies don't lose money. They just don't. Even underperforming ones that don't meet expectations, like they've already pre-sold like so many foreign stuff and ancillary markets that those things are basically paid for by the time they come out. So it takes a disastrous loss to really get a studio executive in trouble. And even then, it's not usually at the top level. They usually find some scapegoats to push that onto, like the director or something like that.
It'll be the director's fault.
Well, wait a minute. So was Lightyear, okay, Lightyear's Pixar. Lightyear was not a success, right? No. That was disastrous. So he get punished at Pixar for that.
Oh yeah, that movie came out. I forgot about that.
The Red Panda movie got universally panned before it even made it to Disney Plus. I mean, I'm gonna start going through this stuff and say, if you get to the Marvel stuff and you start with Black Widow, which I will set aside because of when it came out, but when you start to look at how their films are performing in the theaters, they're substantially down, and you don't have.
All movies are down now.
I'll point out
defending
this,
him.
right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll point out this. So, like when John Lasseter was in charge of Pixar, it was a whole different game.
Yeah,
and then he got Me Too'd, he got fired. Ever since then, there's been like a leadership gap at Pixar, and so you can't point at any one person and be like, okay, the decline in Pixar is this person's fault. With something like Marvel, you can, but Feige is so well entrenched, and he's got so much power over there that it would take a scandal of massive proportions to remove him, even if he does have like failures under his belt. Anyway, let's get to the next real quick. We got to keep moving on. Dennis Wright for $5. The most awesome blue people: Avatar, Na'vi, Namor's minions, Mystique, Dr. Manhattan, and Smurfs. They are all blue. Yes,
Smurfs are the far superior blue persons. Hands down.
No, I think the Namorians are.
Hey, we don't see color here on the Salty Nerd podcast, so it's all good.
Smurfette was the shit. Okay,
yeah, Smurfette was like my younger self coming into adolescence, being like,
that's right.
Oh,
you mean the Smurf that identifies as a woman? Okay,
I might be.
Smurfette is all women, sir.
all women. Although she's surrounded by nothing but all men, which means.
She's a little bit of a slut, but she's still all woman.
Just because a Smurf wears high heels and has long blonde hair does not mean it's a woman.
I'm just saying she's the only
woman
in that entire camp.
How do Smurfs define women?
Oh my God, those knights got to be horrible.
Have they evolved past such archaic things as gender stereotypes?
I believe there's a Smurf movie where they find a Smurf village that's populated by nothing but Smurf women.
Wait, is there one dude?
I think that would. I think.
Yeah, that sounds good, but that would be a pain in the ass. You only can talk to chicks all the time. Oh my God, that would get old real fast.
My entire household is full of nothing but women. I'm the only man in this household.
Vader, real quick, what's your take on the James Cameron thing?
Oh, James Cameron, he's gonna make his movies, and everybody's going to go watch him at least once. It's probably going to make $1 billion, and he'll get his third, maybe his fourth one out. I kind of, James Cameron's up there on the pedestal of all-time great directors, right? He can basically, I feel like he can do whatever he wants. He's going to make his Avatar movies. He's already made them, and we're going to go watch them. And I am not a huge fan of the first movie. I saw it, I think, once in the theater because I only went because I wanted to see what the spectacle was all about. I don't enjoy those tight ass glasses that they had to squeeze on my giant head.
Yeah. I got tired of people saying, "You got to see this movie. It's amazing."
Yeah. And it's like we've all said, it's Ferngully meets Dances with Wolves. It's just not a show that I'm going to resonate with, and I never have. I do appreciate the technical wizardry of these movies. I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
They're feast for the senses, and I really do appreciate that. But the fact that James Cameron's just an old hippie and he's not afraid to put that in his movies is fine. It is what it is, but it's just not something I personally resonate with. When it really, I will probably go watch it just to go, ooh, and then I'll be done with it. We'll talk about it on here for a couple times, I imagine. And but at least Cameron isn't out there attacking fans, and for that I can give him a little bit of I can give him a movie ticket. So
he did lend his name to Dark Fate though, and that was a pretty big shot at the fans.
So yeah, I don't know.
Hey, real quick though, I think that the age of movies making $1 billion is that I think it's going to be a super rare thing now, and it started to become pretty normal for these big comic book movies to get close at the very least. But I think it's going to be really rare now. I think that after COVID, I think people figured out that they don't need to necessarily go to the theater to be entertained, and we are seeing across the board lower and lower ticket sales. And every big comic book movie that comes out, they go, "Oh, this is going to be the movie that brings back theaters," and it never happens.
Here's the thing, though, Brian. It costs more to live, and gas prices are $6 a gallon. I have to personally really prioritize what movies I'm going to go spend $40-$50 on when I want to go watch. When I want to go to the theater, it's an outing now. It's not just, hey, I'm going to go drop $10 and go to the movies this weekend. That's different. It's an investment now. It's an investment, right? It's a thing. So I'm not going to go out there and waste my money on every little stupid movie that comes out, especially when it's going to be on TV in 3 weeks.
I get that. So so the age of the $1 billion movie is going to be a really rare thing,
and that's why
people keep coming out and saying, well, Thor underperformed, Black Adam underperformed, Black Panther 2 underperformed. Well, yeah, they're underperforming what they used to be. We are no longer in the age where every single movie is gonna break records. It's a different time where we gotta bring our expectations down and be like, hey, cool, it made double its budget. That's a success. Not judge the success of the movie based on it getting $1 billion because less people are going to the theater.
It costs more to make a film now because of the same reasons you're talking about. Yep. And you are right, 1,000%. There are fewer butts in the seats. The sales of the theaters aren't an actual reflection of the people who've seen the film as it was, going back 5 years ago, right? 2019 was the year for cinema. I'm sorry, we'll never have it again, or at least not anytime soon. I think you're right in that not every film's going to get close to $1 billion, but I think my question would be to you, Brian, or anybody else on this panel, would be how many films per year are going to hit $1 billion? Because I would estimate maybe 2 to 3 if they're good films.
I think less than that.
Wow.
I think less than that, honestly.
Well, for the next year, I will agree with you because we have a much reduced slate, even the reduced slate of this year. Next year's slate of films, when we get into 2023, is going to be even smaller.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the slate of like big blockbuster movies, I go, okay, what? And I've gone ahead. We've gone and looked at every single movie. We have a spreadsheet full of movies coming out for our channel. Like, which ones are we going to cover? Which one are we going to talk about? Whatever, right? If I had to like pick one movie that could hit $1 billion, I think it would be like the Flash film because it's been so anticipated for so long, and it has all the characters, has all the DC characters in one place. I mean, think about this, my friend. It's the only big team up movie we're gonna get for the next 5 years, and it's the only team up movie we've had for 3 years.
So let's talk about this more when we get to our last story of the day. But speaking of not going to the theaters. Dave Bautista wants in on Netflix's Gears of War movie adaptation. So this was kind of funny. He came out on social media wearing Gears of War armor, and he's actively campaigning to play Marcus Phoenix in the Gears of War adaptation. So first of all, this is a Netflix adaptation, which means it's going to be absolute crap because Netflix can't adapt anything well. Their last couple, like Resident Evil, Cowboy Bebop, every time they try to adapt something, it comes out as woke trash garbage that is only in name attached to like what it was, like a Death Note, for instance. Death Note had nothing to do with the actual anime.
Castlevania was awesome. Castlevania was great.
Defoe was the only good thing.
Not live action though.
It wasn't live action though. Yeah.
No.
So Dave Bautista wants to come on board and basically pull a rock and produce this and have it be like, you know, his baby. And I think that out of all the actors out there right now, he's probably the most well positioned to play Marcus Phoenix, even though I think he's in his 60s now or something like that.
Whoa, really?
Oh, I know he's up there. But you know, he's grown as an actor over time. Like he's definitely been able to pull off some good stuff. So I actually think that this would be a good idea for Netflix to take him up on this offer and have him, you know, headline their Gears of War movie. Matt Vader 74, what do you think of this? Would this be another failed video game adaptation, or could it be good?
I mean, Dave Bautista is a good actor. He's built for these kind of roles, right? I mean, anytime you get a video game futuristic shoot 'em up movie, it better have Dave Bautista and John Cena and Ryan Reynolds and anybody else out there who likes to play video games in Hollywood in it. I mean, these guys, these people are built to be in these kind of movie roles. I mean, why wouldn't they do it? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, if they would be stupid not to have Bautista in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think about this? Would this be a good casting choice?
Well, I mean, he fits the mold. He sort of looks like the guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's like a great actor, but like I don't think it takes like some thespian to play the role. I think he takes a badass, and I think he has that going for him in spades. I think he can knock it out. I like the fact that he likes it enough to campaign about it. See, that it's really important that writers, directors, and actors actually, you know, at the very least care about what they're making, right? So when someone gives someone a loved franchise and says, "Hey, we make this movie," hopefully that person has some kind of connection to it other than like, "Oh, well, let me go see what this is all about," or in Ryan Johnson's case, let me just make my own thing and figure it out there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, why not give him the job? Who cares?
All right, culture. Netflix has a terrible track record of adapting stuff. Why do you think that is, and how would they screw up Gears of War?
Well, I think it's because of who they put in charge of these things. And actually, they got rid of one of their primary show decision maker people this last year or so. Hopefully, we'll never end up with another Death Note. But a lot of the original failures with a lot of these live action adaptations have been the result of just poor decisions when it comes to the story. If they stick with one of the original stories in one of the Gears games, I think they're going to be fine. You know, I have a feeling that that Netflix, if they pick Bautista, you know, to take this over or allow him to do it, I think that's their best step forward. Because again, their failure always comes out of their lack of creativity when they try to change up the story and not utilize something that's there. That's my opinion. Again, Death Note was not Death Note. It's the whole idea that it's in name only. It's that whole conversation we had about Lord of the Rings a few months ago, right? This is in name only. It's tangentially related. That's it. Whereas I think that if you get somebody who loves the game like Bautista, if you get people involved and invested in something that they love, it'll be good. Because my argument would be this: Witcher was okay even with all the agenda stuff. I mean, watching your back and forth with, you know, that particular human, and watching Jeremy from the Quartering's interaction with the lady that was doing that, I I have to say that I felt like, despite having all the agenda in it, at least it was trying to stay somewhat in the ballpark of that. And yeah, there obviously was a level of frustration with somebody who's invested in it with Henry Cavill, where he walked away. I think Bautista would be willing to walk away. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
So Matt number 3 from Foul Ball. We have a situation here where video game adaptations just historically have always gone sideways. But you have Bautista coming into a situation where Netflix also has a bad track record of adaptation. What, in your opinion, would make a good adaptation? Because honestly, like taking the story, the story in the games was very light, like it barely.
Yeah,
existed.
it's pretty
all,
thin. Yeah,
it was all about just running and gunning, using cover, and killing these bad guys. So, who would you like to see come in and kind of shepherd this thing? And what do you think it's going to take to make it a good show?
it's so difficult to say because I do genuinely believe, even though pretty much everyone in Hollywood says like the things that they have to say to stay there, I do think there are people who are genuinely passionate about storytelling. And if they got rid of like, the woke HR department, that day we would get good content. It's just that they're faced with a choice, or it's either work or stand up for your principles. And a lot of people just chose to work. And so they'll do what they have to do to keep their job and sacrifice their integrity. But I do believe there are people there that, if given the chance, could adapt this thing pretty well. I did want to say, though, I think we're kind of giving Bautista the kid gloves right now. Like he's definitely said some things in the past that was like definitely party line, definitely Hollywood line.
He's one
of the worst ones.
Yeah, and he was so tone deaf. One week he was complaining about Republican overreach or whatever, and then like the following week he was complaining about the lack of the government being involved in his house. The guy is a hypocrite at best.
I've seen him tweet about like, people whining about cancel culture and stuff like that. So I don't really have like confidence in him necessarily. Like I do think he seems to be cool, but like, just like all of them, once they get a little bit of status, they start, they get on their pulpit and start telling the rest of us plebs what to think. Yeah. So I'm like, whatever, man. Like you said, there's a lot of potential to make the Gears of War franchise pretty cool, but like there really isn't much story there. So that to me seems like a giant black hole of potential to fill it with lots of bullshit that we don't want to see.
I think it would be really easy to follow the framework of like, everything that's going on with the Locust, and, in the second you had the rust lung that was, a problem, and the fact that they're trying to sink the cities. I think there's stuff there. You could easily write a story with it. Totally. Yeah, you're right. You could definitely fill it with a lot of bullshit stuff, but, it's sorry. I'm one of those people that I think there's an opportunity there. Will they screw it up? Likely.
Well, culture, as long as it's better than the Halo adaptation.
Oh my goodness!
I think it will be a win. But we talked a little bit about the $1 billion movie kind of quandary a little bit earlier, and now DC Studios has come out and said they have an 8 to 10 year plan for all their IPs. And this is about 10 years too late. There should have been, like, back when Snyder was running things, this should have been the plan, honestly. But Hollywood Reporter has a really great article where they interviewed Peter Safran and James Gunn about mapping out the future of the DC universe. And after Shazam, Aquaman, and The Flash kind of hit screens, you're going to start seeing a coalescing around an actual plan for their movies, where like basically the movies are going to start building towards something, and every TV show, every cartoon, every movie is going to contribute to that thing. And this is all going to be kind of shepherded by James Gunn. It was a very interesting article, and James Gunn, he's a really good writer, and I can see him kind of mapping this out over time. So what do you guys think about this? Matt Bader 74, what's your take?
Just real quick, I think my take would be that this is what they need to do. They need to have a long-term plan. They need to set it up just like they did over at Marvel. They need to set this up, put this out in phases. They need to have an overarching big bad that they're building up to, with Thanos. I'm assuming it would be Darkseid or something like that. I'm not a huge DC guy, I have to admit. So I'm not super familiar with DC outside of the big three, but yeah, they definitely need to have this planned out, Marvel style, and that's just how they need to. That's how they should build this cinematic universe going forward. And I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again next week. Next Comic-Con, I fully expect to see a big old projection up there of 6 movies that are going to come out in the next 5 years.
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, spot on, bro.
Yeah.
So Brian, you're kind of our resident DC guy here, since you run a channel kind of dedicated to it. What's your take on this 8 to 10 year plan?
Yeah, my channel is called DC Unleashed. It is entirely dedicated to it. And I believe that it'll be exactly what Vader said is correct. First off, if they're not at the next Comic-Con and they don't bring it, correct, lost opportunity. There is a template that you can follow. Marvel already did this. They already did it extremely well for their first and second phase. All right, just copy that. Not the stories per se, but like the steps you take, the business side of it. Copy that and bring really good content. So yeah, come out with the plan. Show us like what's coming up after Aquaman or whatever's the last movie, and utilize the reshoots that the reshoots they have left for the Flash and Aquaman to attempt to tie what they've already done into their new plan coming out. So I hope they have time to go, all right, so this is our like general plan. We're gonna have this character, whatever. What can we do? What can we reshape parts of the Flash a little bit, to sort of meld with our coming up 10-year plan? Because I realized the previous regime was in charge of the majority of the Flash movie coming out, but there has been an incredible amount of reshoots, so many reshoots for the Flash and Aquaman, that I can completely see them going, let's dunk some of this stuff out and just focus on our new plan coming up. And again, the template's there. Marvel's already done it. Just go. Don't copy them now, please. Go back and just go beat for beat. We need to go to Comic-Con. We need to market this. We need to, have some time between movies. We need the characters to be fleshed out before they team up. Don't just go, hey, here's a Batman movie, and now here's the entire Justice League. All right, no. Start with each character. Make every character loved. Make those movies, even if the movie doesn't work. Like Thor, the first Thor was not a good movie. The second Thor was not a good movie. But they stuck with it. He found his stride, and now Thor is probably one of the most loved Avengers, right? So do it. Start with your movies, stick to your characters, stick to your guns. Don't constantly recast every time you have a speed bump. Figure it out, and then do your big team up movies. And rinse, repeat. It's not hard.
Well, I mean, arguably, sorry, Brian, I'm just going to add to that. You want to follow phase 1 and phase 2 of Marvel. You don't point at Feige, though. You point at the people who built the first films going into that, and one of them being Favreau. And, the fact that they really built out and established the primary character, which at that point was Tony Stark with the Iron Man film. Right. Because at that point, that's really where you can say that legacy began. So going from that point forward, and again, that was with Paramount before it even got over to Disney, if I'm not mistaken. That was where that started off. So you really do have an opportunity here with Gunn, as you were saying, and Safran, right? And maybe we talked a bit about it backstage, but you have the perfect opportunity here with those two, because as I think you said this, Brian, maybe not on the stream, but you have one as a business guy, one's a creative guy. Right. That's perfect. Do you know who else was structured that way and was very successful for the lifetime of at least one of those parties? Disney. You had Walt and Roy. And then Disney did it again with Eisner and his partner Wells, I believe, at the time. Right?
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's the way things. It's the way most entertainment enterprises, when it comes to things, become very successful. Is with a creative guy, a business guy, and they work together and bump heads all the time, but they keep the ship moving forward. And that is the perfect thing. Wherever Zaslav saw that model, it's perfect. right? It is truly.
Yeah, it works. It really works. Yeah. And I gotta tell you, like, I'm not my channels are fine. If you like them, then I'm glad you do. We do our best. But I gotta tell you, I'm really sort of a creative guy, and Shane is definitely the analytical business guy. And without both of us being able to create together, we wouldn't be able to create these like big docs that we do, because it requires both types of minds to sort of not only create the content, but create the content, amount of time it takes, put the sponsor on board, and figure out the advertiser, and write the script. Like, there's two parts to it, and I believe that those partnerships are the best. I completely forgot about the Disney thing. Yeah. You're right. This is already a proven model.
Well, also with Disney was Simpson and Bruckheimer. That was another business creative duo.
Yeah,
that is fascinating. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs their business minded geniuses behind them.
Everyone wants to get this Kevin Feige thing.
We have this guy here. This guy is the side of the salty nerd stuff that nobody sees. He works really hard for us, and and the rest of us, we have our ideas and we come up with our things. But Matt, he's the one who puts them together. So I can relate a little bit here. So yeah, I get it.
So Matt, number 3, I wanted to ask you, what do you think took them so long to figure out that they needed an actual plan for all their DC movies?
It's someone that understands the fans, right? Like understand like how a story progresses and why it works. It's like having empathy for the people that come to see the thing that you are making. Like I think that's so evident in the DCEU, like how the DC, like the cinematic universe, how they clearly rushed it. Like they just cram all these characters in there. They just want their own version of a Marvel cinematic universe, and it's clunky. It didn't feel right. It was rushed and not that well fleshed out. And
it's like they were trying to beat Marvel. It was like, totally, Marvel's doing Avengers. Let's try to beat them to the punch. It's like, whoa. You got to earn that, dude.
Yeah, you didn't earn that. It's like when they did Armageddon and Deep Impact in the same year. They're like, oh, they're doing an asteroid movie. We'll do an asteroid movie. But it's like you can't do like the culmination of 10 years of cinematic planning and exploration and films and character establishment in that short of a period of time. You just can't do it. And it was clear. I mean, it's a universally poorly received film. So it's the same thing as Star Wars. It's like they did a whole Star Wars franchise without any plan. They just kind of made it up as they went along with like the most valuable IP in movies. So it's like
how creator disconnect too, though. Like creators and directors not even talking to each other, writing in the same universe doesn't work.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. So it's like they have just a plethora of evidence to look at and see that you can't just do an endeavor like this and rush it and all, and just take for granted that there's going to be an audience for all those things. It's like people like Marvel for a reason. They were fun movies. They were interesting. They were cool. And they did have like a long form plan that paid off. Even if they did kind of develop it like as it went on, it still was respectful of the audience. And I don't think DC did that really in any way. So proof's in the pudding.
Arguably, Warner Brothers, which is now the problem that Disney's suffering from, was at that time suffering under the weight of film by committee. They had so many different people involved in the DC films and didn't really have somebody that was really in charge of it all, despite lots of people being attached to that particular kind of an idea. That it didn't make for good films. I mean, look at what happened with Snyder's film, and it was essentially stripped away from him. And that's just
I would actually argue that it was Snyder's fault to begin with, because he was the one they chose to be kind of like their Kevin Feige.
It didn't work.
And not only is he a terrible producer executive, but he's also creatively bankrupt. Like he's not a good storyteller.
I have a question. So I don't know, maybe this is sort of related, but earlier this week, Jason Momoa put out a little video on his Instagram where he was thanking the maestro. And isn't the maestro what all of those people call Zack Snyder?
No. So I thought the same thing. I looked into it because I did a story for it that's going on, because it's coming out tomorrow on my DC channel.
So guys, I just thought that might be involved with all of this. So I'm
Jason Momoa calls all directors maestro, though.
But don't the rest of them call Zack Snyder maestro too?
I think he was referring to James Gunn, actually.
He was referring to James Gunn, though. So He calls all directors maestro. So it's not.
All right.
It's not.
Although
it's not
this concept that he can play both Lobo and Aquaman is kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if
it's
I don't know if they're gonna go that route, dude. I don't know though. You know, there is
Well-
a storyline in DC where Aquaman dies, and it's funny because it's part of like the Crisis series, and it's actually a really like heartwarming, like sad, rip your heart out of your chest kind of a story about how he dies to protect his son. And if they actually did that and then brought him back as Lobo, it would be sort of gangster. But-
It would.
Yeah, that'd be funny. But real quick, I just want to thank everyone who gave us super chats for today's stream. We have Mexican Iron Man, Gavin Blackburn, JT Gunn, Fluffy Panda, Whiskey Jack, Nikki D, and Dennis Wright. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate all that stuff. It goes a long way towards helping us do what we do on a regular basis.
Yep.
And I also want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for showing up. We have Matt number 3 from Foul Ball Productions. He streams quite regularly. He's got a great show over there. Definitely check it out. By the way, everyone's stuff is linked in the description. So in case you want to know where to find them, go check that out. We got Mr. $8 himself, Culture Casino here. We got Brian from the Popcast. Matt from Foul Ball, any final thoughts and where can people find out more about you?
Well, you can find me at it's Foulball Productions on everything: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I do 2 personal streams. I do the MFR podcast on Wednesdays and the MFR Cocktail Lounge on Fridays. MFR Cocktail Lounge gets wild. That's after FNT. It's a pretty fun show, so check that out. I don't know, man. It's an interesting time for like content because it's very easy to just continue to digest this slurry of crap we get from Hollywood all the time and get frustrated about it. But I've kind of turned a corner a little bit where I'm just not as I'm just going to explore my passions elsewhere, you know, like read like sci-fi books that I enjoy or just find the things that kind of slip through the cracks that are actually pretty good. Like, you know, for instance, that All Quiet on the Western Front new release is incredible. It's
Is
like
that good?
Spectacular. Like it's one of the best war movies I've seen maybe ever. And it's really great. And there are good things. It's just, we have to kind of look elsewhere, you know, we got to find like in the cracks and stuff like that. Like I said, like the comedy scene right now is like exploding and there's so many good podcasts and comedy specials that have come out. Like, you know, it seems like every day. So I find myself focusing on that. And then we do have the rise of really cool indie creators. Like on FNT last night, Critical Drinker announced his comic book. That's a authorized prequel to Rambo, which is like sick. You know what I mean? That's cool. And I trust, you know, Critical Drinker's hand at the helm of something like that. So I guess my thing is, I guess there is still good stuff out there. We just need to look in different places and take it from different sources. Because otherwise, you know, I get miserable about it. And so I can't live in that world. So I try to just find the things that actually do bring me joy, talk about those, and just kind of watch them destroy an entire legacy industry.
Yeah. But you know,
Right.
it's nice that we have our own industry that we're all building together here on all our different platforms. You know, this thing on my hat, it means something to all of us out there. You know, we all of us with these channels, we need to all support and help each other out as much as we can. So yeah.
Hell.
And newly minted blue check mark for $8, Culture Casino. Any final thoughts and where can people find more of you?
My final thoughts is I always have a fun time here. You guys are amazing. Plus, you know, every time I get to hang out with one of my buddies like Matt and others, I'm stoked. So, but yeah, I agree with what Vader just said. I'm like, support everybody. I talk about it in almost every single one of my videos at the very end. I'm saying, you know, support independent creators because we are the new industry. I'm sorry, we just are. If you want good things, they're coming out of all these people's mouths. They're coming out of their minds, and yeah, they're coming on your screen. I'm Culture Casino everywhere. I'm not $8 Culture Casino everywhere. I'm just Culture Casino everywhere. So you can find me on Minds and Twitter and Getter and YouTube and Odyssey and Rumble and yeah. So I'm everywhere. I'm me. And there's a logo that looks like me. There's a logo that looks like an ace. They're the same person. And I've got to get my merch game tuned up, and I've been trying to do it forever, and I keep letting it fall by the wayside. So
I keep telling you to call me, man.
I know. We're gonna have to talk. I got to get everything done. And with that, check out all these wonderful gentlemen because they're my friends. So, there you go.
And Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
I'm glad to be included in your friends list, Culture Casino. That's nice, man. You can find me anywhere that says Popcast, except for those scene-stealing hacks that run a podcast with the same name. Those are not us. And their logo sucks. Who uses blue glasses? Come on, guys. Anyways, you can find us at youtube.com/thepopcast, youtube.com/Popcast Unleashed. And then we have the Unleashed Network. So DC Unleashed, Star Wars Unleashed, Marvel Unleashed. Am I missing something? Probably something. Good. But if you go to our main channel, The Popcast, you can find all of our stuff. And on Twitter at Popcast Guys. Not sure how much longer. Who knows how long that party is going to last for. But as long as we're there, it's going to be fun. Woo. One more closing thought. Doja Cat is overrated. And she's not very funny. So,
yeah. Matt Vader 74. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Not a lot. I just want to thank everybody again for hanging out with us today. Always love it when Foul Ball and Culture come and hang out with us on the show. And Brian, thanks for being one of us. Love you, man.
Always will be.
And yeah, man, just support each other. That's out there. Let's make our own content. Let's have some fun doing it. You know.
Yeah.
And where can people find your verified Twitter account?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74, just like it says right there. Yeah. Come find me.
Hey, 3 out of 5 blue checks on the panel. Not too
That's
bad.
right.
Right?
Pretty good.
And as always, every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're doing the live stream right here. And we've also, this week, we're continuing our retro rewatch. And we're taking a look at Hammer Horror's The Vampire Lovers, which should be a lot of fun.
You said it wrong.
And we also have another $2 from Fluffy Panda. Love you all. Even Brian, go Buffalo Bills. Thank you, Fluffy Panda. We really appreciate it.
Even Brian. All right.
Yes, even Brian. He's our queer representation on the panel. If you don't love him, you're committing a hate crime because it's murder.
Exactly.
So,
you got to have one of us.
Yes, got to have one. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already, subscribed to the Salty Nerd YouTube channel. We put out content 3 to 5 times a week. We have all types of live streams, and we are absolutely loving it. Right now, we're doing Twilight Zone for our Patreon exclusives. Those have been really fun. Next month, we're doing Batman 66 for our patrons. And we also just released a wonderful interview with cinematographer Michael Snyman, who was the cinematographer for C, the HBO Max series Warrior, The Night Manager, all types of amazing stuff. And he was a really fun interview to do. So go check that out on our channel. We've actually got a lot of celebrity interviews up on there. We've got something with David Hewlett coming out and actor extraordinaire Hoon Lee very soon. And we've also got a lot of skits and bits coming out for the month of December. Dad Joke Challenge Part 2 is going to be coming out, as well as a bunch of other fun stuff that kind of is against our normal format, but it should be a good time. Anyway, everyone, as always, $8.